organising this event this afternoon to discuss a new era in the Middle East, the role of women in peace processes. A growing body of evidence supports the assertion that increased inclusion of women in peace building will help achieve sustainable peace. And I'm delighted to see such a large group who have made the journey to participate. I'm personally very honoured to be invited to speak with my colleagues from Slovenia and Cyprus. On International Women's Day in March this year, a group of women ambassadors in Tel Aviv launched the Women Ambassadors for Women Wage Peace initiative to honour and recognise the work of women wage peace. Since then, many other women ambassadors have joined this initiative, and we look forward to working with Women Wage Peace and strengthening our cooperation in the period ahead. Our colleagues from Latin America, Asia and Africa have much to contribute. Women's participation in conflict and peace processes is frequently less visible than that of male actors who are celebrated and commemorated as combatants or peace negotiators. And our understanding and memory of war, and therefore of making peace, is more often through the perspective and the experience of men. It's therefore really important that we ensure that the voices of women are heard and our influence brought to bear in peace processes and negotiations. This is why we champion and support the work of Women Wage Peace and of the Women's Lobby here in the Knesset, led by MKs Ksenia Svetlova and Michal Rosin. The overarching goal of Irish foreign policy is the pursuit of international peace, security and sustainable development, a goal which isn't achievable without the empowered participation of women. The Women, Peace and Security agenda recognises both the particularly adverse effect of conflict on women and girls, as well as their critical role in conflict prevention, peace negotiations, peace building and governance. It's clear that equitable, durable and sustainable peace and reconciliation cannot be built without women at the table. The Irish approach to the Women, Peace and Security agenda is unique, with multiple perspectives brought together through cross-government collaboration and cooperation. First, the Irish Defence Forces and An Garda Síochána, our police force, are active participants in UN and UN-mandated overseas peace operations. This experience provides a solid foundation from which to begin to address international security issues. The vast majority of our peacekeeping assets are concentrated here in the Middle East, and over 500 of the 650 peacekeepers currently serving overseas, including a good number of women, are on Israeli territory or on its borders, in Undaf on the Golan Heights, where our last contingent was led by a woman, in Unifil in Lebanon, and in UNSO with its headquarters here in Jerusalem. Secondly, Ireland's overseas development policy and programme Irish Aid is a world-leading programme, and our policy identifies gender inequality and gender-based violence as priorities to address. Lastly, Ireland has direct domestic experience of conflict and post-conflict reconciliation. The people of Ireland have experienced the effects of the Northern Ireland conflict, and successive governments have been actively engaged in political peace and reconciliation processes to resolve that conflict. In addition, Ireland is a country of increasingly rich diversity, and a growing number of women are arriving there from conflict areas, both as asylum seekers and through the government's refugee resettlement programme. Turning now to Northern Ireland, Having lived through the period of what we call the Troubles, from the late 1960s to the 1998 Good Friday Agreement and its implementation to the present day, I have seen firsthand the contribution which women make to peace building and to creating hope and inspiration that peace is possible and must be achieved. I have also realized that affirmation, recognition, and practical support are essential to maintaining momentum, engagement, and progress. A terrorist incident in Belfast in August 1976 spurred two women to create what became known as the Peace Movement of Northern Ireland, with a clear and simple message: we must put an end to the use of violence and to acts of terrorism. We must build our future on peace and cooperation. For their work, Betty Williams and Mairead Corrigan Maguire were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And while their movement wasn't long-standing, the incontrovertible fact remains that they took the first courageous step along the road to peace, as have women wage peace here in Israel in the face of despair after the 2014 Gaza war. Moving on 20 years, the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition was established in 1996 following extensive discussion about the virtual invisibility of women in politics in Northern Ireland, which contrasted with the large numbers of women activists at the local community level. This was a non-traditional party, constituted in the main of women civil society leaders who felt disenfranchised by the male-dominated political status quo. It had an agenda shaped by bread and butter issues, which they felt were lacking in formal politics, education, economic opportunity, and security affecting their daily lives. These women succeeded in achieving representation at the Forum for Political Dialogue, which was the forerunner of the multi-party talks which resulted in the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, with the express purpose of serving as a voice for women on both sides of the conflict. They had significant impact in three core areas: their role as an honest broker, facilitating dialogue between opposing parties, their success in integrating issues and language into the Good Friday Agreement that might otherwise have been omitted, and their positive effect on women's political participation. Though formally disbanded in 2006, the coalition's members continue to support the involvement of women in public and political life in Northern Ireland. Fast forwarding 2 decades to the current time, Northern Ireland saw fresh elections last March following the unfortunate breakdown in the power-sharing executive less than a year after the previous election. This was precipitated by a domestic issue, a renewable energy scheme, rather than a conflict-related issue. 30% of members of the new Assembly are women, a record high and a tremendous achievement for those involved, since men were more likely to have been involved in violence, and as the power-sharing arrangements are predicated on getting organisations and individuals formerly involved in violence to engage in peaceful political participation, women have had to overcome many barriers. It is noteworthy, against this backdrop, that 3 of the 5 political parties in the new Assembly are led by women, including the 2 main players, the Democratic Unionist Party and Sinn Féin, who have the challenging task of trying to form a new power-sharing executive. While all parties